Welcome back to Folder Decoder. In this series, I choose a chip folder that I've personally used throughout the Balnark series, or that has been suggested by viewers in the comments to highlight in a video. The idea is to break down each folder to see which chips go in the folder and to see how each folder works, then show it off in game. Keep in mind that the folders I feature in this series are not intended to be used in PvP matches. Net battling online is completely different from playing through the story and post-game content of each Balnark game, and while I do have some knowledge of PvP in Balnark 6, I don't have enough knowledge in the other games to recommend any PvP folders. With the disclaimer out of the way, it's time to revisit an old friend with today's folder. Back in episode 10 of this Folder Decoder series, I made a video going over the Silver Bullet combo in Balnark 4. The premise of the folder was simple, but devastating when pulled off. Silver Bullet is a famous combo in the Balnark games, where the Super Vulcan chip is powered up with chips such as Double Point, Attack plus 30, and Attack plus 10 chips. This is done because the Super Vulcan chip hits opponents 12 times, and each of those 12 hits gets the increased damage from those damage modifying chips. The first chip in this combo, Double Point, gives your frontmost panel in each row over to your opponent, and gives your next chip an additional 20 damage for each panel given up. In other words, Double Point gives a chip an additional 60 damage per hit. Fortunately, the Attack plus 30 and Attack plus 10 chips are much more straightforward, giving chips an extra 30 or 10 damage per hit respectively, as their names imply. Normally, Super Vulcan deals only 10 damage per hit in Balnarks 3, 4, and 5, and since the chip hits 12 times, it does 120 damage to enemies, assuming that all 12 hits connect successfully. When fully powered up with Double Point, Attack plus 30, and 2 copies of Attack plus 10, each shot from Super Vulcan deals 120 damage for a total of 1,440 damage if all 12 hits connect. The thing is, we've already seen this setup for Super Vulcan in episode 10. However, the key is that the Silver Bullet combo is a max damage Super Vulcan, which requires the damage of the chip to be doubled, either by being in full synchro, or by charging the chip with Metal Soul. This means that if you want to run this combo in Red Sun, you'll have to forego using Double Souls, which is a shame since Search Soul is so good at helping you find combo pieces with its chip shuffle ability. But do you actually have to forego using Double Souls with this combo in Red Sun? Let's take a look at the soul that's actually like a counterpart to Metal Soul, and that being the first one you get when playing Red Sun, Gut Soul. Now, I won't deny that Metal Soul's damage output is much higher than the damage output of Gut Soul, but that doesn't mean that the latter is weak by any means. Whereas Metal Soul provides that double damage buff to null element chips when you charge them, Gut Soul simply gives these chips an extra 30 damage without needing to charge them. We'll bring up that distinction again in a minute, but for now, let's just focus on that plus 30 damage. With an extra 30 damage provided by Gut Soul, each shot from a Super Vulcan would go from 10 damage to a maximum of 150 damage, assuming you've activated Gut Soul on the turn prior to using the Vulcan chip. At 150 damage per shot, Super Vulcan ends up dealing a total of 1,800 damage, and while this is over 1,000 damage shy of the Silver Bullet combo, it's still a respectable amount of damage that can one-shot a ton of Red Sun SP Navis. For the sake of providing as much info as possible in this video, let's quickly go over the Navis that this tweaked Red Bullet combo won't be able to one-shot. First off, the only Red Sun Navis that have more than 1800 HP are Fireman SP and Thunderman SP. If you have access to Blue Moon Navis on your Red Sun file, Metalman SP would be tough to fight with this folder since he has 2000 max HP and the Super Armor ability, while Woodman SP has a massive 2500 HP. As for version shared Navis, there's Burnman SP and Coldman SP, both of whom have 1900 HP, and Laserman, who has both 2200 HP and Super Armor. Now, as for the other chips available for this folder, this is where we'll bring up that distinction in the damage modifiers of Metal and Gut Soul. Since Metal Soul needs to charge a chip in order to double its damage, Metal Soul cannot double the damage of time freezing chips. Gut Soul, on the other hand, provides that additional 30 damage to all groundbreaking and null chips, including time freezing chips such as Magnum and Navi chips. Unfortunately, Magnum does in fact come in the same code as Super Vulcan, that being the V code. Since that chip can be used to go into Gut Soul and gets an additional damage buff when Gut Soul is already active, we of course want 4 copies of Vulcan in this folder. More importantly, however, is a Navi chip that goes into the folder, that being the Videoman SP chip. If used properly, Videoman SP hits opponents 6 times, dealing an additional 180 damage thanks to Gut Soul. if you choose to use your attack plus 30 chip here, you can get an additional 60 damage per hit for a total of 840 damage using this one Navi chip. Of course, this will take away from your Super Vulcan's damage, but doing max damage with the Super Vulcan isn't always needed for this folder to work. As for the other chips that you can use in this folder, they're mostly going to be whatever on-code chips you have available to you. Since your main goal is to use Super Vulcan and Video Man SP, you do want to start off by using Search Soul when running this folder, so having 4 copies of Invis is a must, as well as a few copies of Pop-Up to make sure you can get Search Soul right away. Otherwise, you can use chips such as Big Hammer 3, Air Hockey 3, or Counter 3 for damage. Vulcan 1 comes in both the V and Star codes and is of course a good chip to use with Gut Soul as well. Discord is also a useful chip in this folder as it can keep enemies in place to make hitting Super Vulcan much easier. And of course, it's always a good idea to run Fast Gauge and Full Cust in a folder such as this one. With the folder's explanation done, let's take a look at it in action. And that's it for the Gut Soul variation of the Super Vulcan folder. Like I said earlier, it's definitely not as strong as the Metal Soul variant, with the maximum damage output being much lower, but that's not actually that big of an issue against most navies. Honestly, as cool as it is to be able to deal 2,880 damage with a combo such as Silver Bullet, it's also a bit of overkill. Even with the drastically reduced damage, this folder is more than capable of deleting the vast majority of navies in the game in a single hit, which almost makes it feel more efficient than a Metal Soul empowered Silver Bullet. And also keep in mind, there's a lot of supplemental damage in this folder, such as your Magnums and the Video Man chip, so you don't have to overly rely on Super Vulcan. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel for some more Battle Network content. In addition to these Folder Decoder videos, I also have a series in which I look at how individual chips from throughout the Battle Network series have changed over time, as well as essay-style videos about various topics relating to these games. So if you like the Battle Network games, you should definitely check out those videos as well. And as always, thanks for watching.